Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Right. Everybody, thank you very much for joining. I'm hoping that the people that are doing this online are now able to hear us online and actually see us. Give you a wave. Well, thank you very much for joining the Snowflake user group. So this is the 7th user group. Right. But we'll have a regular cadence of the user groups now. So it used to be like every other month. Moving forward, we're going to have these monthly. The subject for today's user group is all things AI with Games Global. So we've got a whole collective from Games Global here that are going to come and talk to us about some really cool stuff. Before we get into that, here's the agenda. So a welcome from me. I'll give an introduction just now. A couple of announcements. We're going to get some cool content from Games Global. We're running a little bit behind, so we might not get to some stuff about Snowflake intelligence. If we do, it's going to be very quick. We're always, if you come to one of these events before, there's always a quiz, so keep your eyes and ears open. And then afterwards, there's more food and drinks if it hasn't all been already. And then, yeah, socialize, network. That's the whole idea of the Snowflake user group. So what is the user group? Oh no. So what is the user group all about? Pick up best practices, grow your professional network, and stay current with all things Snowflake. So whether you're a seasoned Snowflake professional or whether you're coming to us for the first time, you know, it's a community environment. Okay? So we're looking for people to come and participate, come up here and present, be brave, come and share your thoughts, your ideas. If you want to consult and actually running the user group, currently there's a handful of us that are doing it. You're more than welcome to get involved. Like I said, it's a community-based event. So my name's Douglas. I'm a director of a company called Data Lab. My co-director, Reza, and I started the user group. By no means is this a Data Lab event. This is a Snowflake community user group. So we want more people to come and join us to help grow this community, share ideas. All for speakers. So the guys from Games Global have been very brave. They've done this once before already. They've got great content to share with you. Big Snowflake users. If you guys want to come and share your content, please come and do that. It can be anything Snowflake, anything that's going to add some value to the community. Things like best practices, any kind of use cases, anything that you've found out or that you've explored in your work or just in your own kind of research. If you want to join the chapter, if you haven't already, you just walked in off the street and you're like, they've got them free food and drink, you're welcome. Otherwise, you can scan the QR code, join the community, and we'll send you out notifications about when all the events actually take place. Go to the little South Africa user group. So we've set this up at the moment. We've got a physical Cape Town chapter, a virtual chapter for the guys from Johannesburg. Joining us virtually in good time. When we've grown that community, we'll start having the events physically in multiple locations. So the intent is to have one in Cape Town, one in Joburg, and then in the future, one in Durban as well. A couple of announcements and then, so upcoming events. So one, you can join the LinkedIn group. So what we're trying to do with our LinkedIn Snowflake user group is create a bit more engagement. So if you've got challenges, problems, issues, you want to share ideas in a kind of more informal environment, you can join that user group. We're keeping it kind of private to people that have joined the actual community already. And then potentially we'll make it more publicly available. So please join that. There's loads of these QR codes. So if you want some pictures, get your cameras out. We're going to have our Christmas edition on the 19th of November. Again, that will be physically here in Cape Town and then virtually for locations. If it does look like that, I will not be here. And then if you are in any other country other than South Africa, it seems, you can go to the Snowflake World Tour. So I'm fortunate enough, I'll be going to the one in London next week. But there are these World Tour events across like multiple continents. Worth checking them out if you happen to be in one of those countries. They're really good events, lots of good speakers, lots of good content. You guys, I know, have been to like the Snowflake Summit in San Francisco. It's not on the same level as that. It's just one day instead of like 3 or 4, but they're pretty good. And then there'll be a virtual build conference on the 4th to the 7th of November. These are really good. So these are more techy, more nerdy. So if you want to go and like get your hands dirty and actually start like using some of the tools, then the build conference is really good. We run a couple of workshops with Snowflake. So we run these AI labs. Essentially, they're hands-on labs. You come, they're between 2 and 3 hours long. You sign up for a trial account, and in particular labs will take you through a whole load of the AI features. So that's things like Cortex SQL, where you can use large language models and SQL at the same time. You use things like AI, you'll use things like Snowflake Intelligence. So all of their AI features, we have a kind of pre-built lab that lets you host end-to-end solution in about 3 hours. Got one in Cape Town, and we're holding another one in Joburg on the 12th of November. And then that's it for me. I'm going to hand over to the guys from Games Global. I'm not sure who's coming up first. I think it's Raymond. I'll let them introduce themselves. Give them a round of applause.
Good evening, guys. I hope you're all good. If not, I hope the alcohol and refreshments make things better. Okay. Today we'll be sharing the success story of Games Global, success story with Snowflake. So we'll be taking you guys through our world. Not technology, not look at it. So in our success story, we'll take you through the whole process of AI or machine learning. It all starts with the data. Then we have to understand the data, which is analysis. And then we will look at the A/B testing. Then we'll look at AI, how we do it, how we use it, and obviously we need to see and monitor how it performs. So that's the last aspect of it. And the team that will be taking you guys through that will be before the team. It's about Games Global. Who are we? When I interviewed last year, November, I didn't know about Great Games Global. I saw job spec and I was like, that is fun. I researched, they said 2 years. I'm like, job security. And then I interviewed, it all went well. I knew, and then I discovered that the iGaming industry is huge and I didn't have a view of it. And I also discovered what Games Global is, which is a leading supplier of innovative iGaming content. You have the content is over 3,500 game tiles of games. That's our own engines. Point. And then we have over 40 studios that have been developing the games, and we are all over the world. Some of our teams will basically talk about our network. And how has it been since I'm the last born to join them? It's been great. We'll see with us coming in and presenting the culture in Games Global. It's very relaxed. I'm in my sneakers, I'm in my jeans, innovate constantly. So everybody to join. I think by the fourth slide I will be used to it. Yeah. Okay, this is the team that will be presenting. We have brought in reinforcement by executive there also as well. We basically even have questions go to them. They know more. The first up will be also that is me. I'm the machine learning engineer over here. I basically take their great ideas and I make sure that they function in the real world. And I also monitor them to see if they are doing what they are expected to do. We make computers think for themselves, and then I monitor if they're not taking over the world. And then we have over here, which is our analytics engineer. If you want to get a $1 million consultation for free, speak to the slide about data. If analytics was or data analytics was a orchestra, he's the conductor. He makes sure that everything plays together in harmony. So I'm not saying steal him, I'm saying then we have Kibanya. She is our in-house data detective. She knows the data, she goes into the data. Not only that, she knows the company. If you want to know more about Games Global, go to her and then ask her how has she been in Games Global for 10 years when the company is 23 years or so old. But that's a kind of okay, because people just to do so care about it. And then we have Desmond over there. He will be taking us through the some of the work. Let me not spoil it for you guys, but Desmond is is basically our go-to guy, our referee for the games. He makes sure that every variant in the game tiles that we have has a fair chance. He makes sure that the variant that performs well is the variant that gets deployed to global. So here's our game. And then we have Hussein. You over here, he is the magician. He makes data sing, he makes data make things. And if they haven't invented ways to make there is no ways to make the data do what he wants, he basically invents that way the way. And like I said, I make sure what they do works well in real world and doesn't take over the world. I'm gonna leave things to Rob now. Hopefully it behaves much better.
A lot.
I don't have tips. I do it.
Probably not. Hey guys, so I'm Rob. I'm all things data engineering. Just to paint a bit of pictures, in the beginning of the year, our CIO hosted a town hall session and he said his vision wants 1 million new games a month. I mean, what? It's crazy. But what he really meant is he wants 1 million personalized games per month. And the only way to do this is through data-driven decisions and essentially building hyper-personalized solutions for all of our games. So by looking at the numbers, we're operating over 19 markets, which is just over 100 countries at the moment. Servicing 412 operator brands. And these operator brands are operators such as Betway, Hollywood Bets, Flutter, operate in Canada, the UK, the US. So it's a wide variety of markets that's regulated, unregulated, and we're constantly expanding our footprints across the globe. You can see when we hone this in and we ingress all of that data into Snowflake, you can see that we're currently just running over 500 million transactions daily within our Snowflake data lake. This aggregates up to 15 billion transactions monthly that we have to essentially build, pipe, and essentially aggregate and perform analytics and build various data products up. Breaking this down, you can see that we're actually hitting 500,000 queries a day on our Snowflake instance, which is down to all of the various different self-service initiatives, automated engineering initiatives, and all of our add-on various analytics that we run within our instance. Now, with this, and this is probably the most boring slide, but you can see that we've got a structure where the teams are broken into specific pods, and these pods essentially surface a variety of different products that we service the business with. We've got a headcount of over 32 people, but there's also a few other people that also access our Snowflake instance from a self-service perspective as well. You can see that Data Hub, which is our central data engineering team, for the lion's share of queries where they ingress this data and essentially use a variety of automated processes and tasks to essentially build out our essential lakehouse for us. Just honing into the architecture a bit, you can see that we've got a variety of data coming through our various remote gaming systems, which is sitting within each country. We've got a whole variety of tech stacks ranging from on-prem SQL. We've recently completed a migration to the Snowflake Data Warehouse, where we're going to operate all of our billing products within Snowflake now as well. Got a variety of different streams such as Azure and EKS, and then a variety of other third-party data providers that we also ingest data from. We're using OpenFlow and a combination of Snowpipe to essentially push this data into our raw staging layers in Snowflake. We've also introduced DBT into our stack. We've been using DBT Core. We're also branching out to use DBT Cloud now to help effectively scale and build governed analytics models for our staging, intermediate, and mod layers, whereby we will then expose this for discovery using a variety of tools such as the Horizon Catalog service and then MCP from Snowflake MCP and various other MCP products as well. This will allow all of our analysts to essentially extensively use the Snowflake platform in an easy manner. Coming from an on-prem SQL world, we always had to fight about no locks and contentions. when we got access to essentially building and exposing all of this data to all of our various analysts, scientists, and engineers, this essentially became a problem that wasn't an issue anymore. We essentially had scaled analytics to essentially enable this for our analysts to build our data products, which the rest of the team will show you just now. We're also exposing all of this to a variety of data products such as Power BI, Tableau. We're also exploring with Sigma at the moment. And then we're also building out intelligent agentic workflows with Snowflake Intelligence to essentially expose and build data products and give the business the analytics that they require. We also surface the data tables and the data marts to the studios for self-service purposes, allowing them to also query and interrogate the data at the discretion. And then we also use secure shares with Snowflake Marketplace to also share data to our customers as well. So it's a very busy picture, and I just want to drive home the journey with Snowflake so far has been incredible. They've been such a huge support, giving us access to early access. They've given us the ability to directly develop the product with them to essentially drive home what our requirements is. And we don't feel like a customer. We really feel like part of the product evolution and delivery as well. With that, breaking down into how we essentially extend this analytics, I'll hand over the mic to give us a bit of a better understanding.
Okay, guys. I just want to first say, please don't judge our innovation based on the name of our team. Please I've been for 10 years, but I think someone just was put on the spot and we the gaming world, gaming analytics, that's the name of our team. But I'll cover some of the stuff that we do and showcase some of the things we put into production. No, I mean, where's the sensor here?
There's the middle one, go back.
Okay. It's not very chance. Can I press the arrows?
Must be the battery.
Yeah. Oh, it says the battery is running.
Juice.
Yeah, it's 0. So
There you go.
that's fine. I'll actually, no, that's fine. I'll do that. Yes. Cool. So as Rob mentioned, yeah, we've connected to type of BI tools. We're very fortunate. It just really shows how flexible we are and how easy it is to connect to these BI tools, having our data in Snowflake. Most commonly used tool in our space is Tableau. We've got about 370 users there so far, with about 85 of them being self-service users. And currently this year, we've developed about 150 Tableau workbooks. But as we all know, with those wonderful stakeholders pressing down our backs every day, they just want more and more and more. And we don't want to really be in that space of just creating more and more workbooks. So we were very fortunate to go to the Snowflake Summit earlier this year. And when they mentioned Snowflake Intelligence, we kind of just we forgot how to even spell Tableau. We just were like, yes, please. This is really giving us the power to enable our stakeholders. So for those of you that don't know what is Snowflake Intelligence, it's having those ready to run AI-powered data agents available for everyone. And the best part is that it's built on the Snowflake platform. So you pretty much getting all your governance, access control, the fact that they built this out as a separate UI, which also makes it so easy and seamless to point out stakeholders. It's using the best part is the Cortex platform. So how we have the Cortex analyst for structured data and Cortex search. So under the hood there, we really have access to all these industry-leading models for that robust reasoning and recommendations that find for our agents. But I wasn't going to go too much into the technical part of it because I know there's a bit of a talk afterwards. I thought it would be better if I actually just show you what it looks like and do a little bit of a demo video of what it looks like in production. So let's see if that works.
Going to delve into factors that influence a successful game load, such as geographic data. Here, we've prompted the bot to look into our geographic data and identify any weak spots. To remove noise, we're going to focus on games with at least 1,000 load attempts. One thing to mention is the agentic workflow at play here. You can follow the agent's thought process and also vet the SQL queries it's created. Okay, we can see that Cape Verde has the lowest success rate of 91%, followed by Austria, Jamaica, and Finland. You see the bot even has some recommendations on what to do to improve these rates. But let's check what's contributing to these failed loads. The chatbot has business domain and is able to correctly identify metrics it needs to analyze. It's chosen to look into the errors and unknown resolutions, giving us further insight into Chile. We're going to see quite a few errors came through. We'd also like to know how much aborts and redirects contributed to these failures, so we prompt the bot once more. Skimming through the output, you can see that Finland stands out, but we're not really seeing anything of concern here. What you've just seen are examples chosen to illustrate the capabilities of our data chatbot. Of course, this is only a glimpse. The possibilities go far beyond what we could fit into a short demo. One final note. The magic works best when you do too. The clearer your prompts, the sharper the insights. Don't leave the bot guessing. It's brilliant, but it's not a mind reader, at least not yet.
And just to mention, like to set up these agents, it was actually pretty quick. We used Cortex Analyst to create a semantic model for the underlying game load data model, agent, sorry. And it's really about the fine tuning and updating the custom instructions and your semantic model versus the orchestration and custom instructions you put in the agent. So it's just been about the fine tuning and how you actually want to display your results, the formatting of how you sort things, like either you want to display it in charts or percentages and things like that. So with SI, I have to say we've really empowered our stakeholders. We've just put it to like a small pilot audience. We haven't really rolled it out to the whole business yet. It's still kind of new for us, so we're learning as we go. But it's moved beyond that knowledge and search where our stakeholders have to go to dashboards and kind of find the what and the where, and they need to have that domain and go a bit deeper into finding like certain patterns and insights. SI, you're getting sort of the whys, you're finding the deeper insights, you're getting recommendations, you're getting your next steps, and it's just really been the best part for us is that analysts, we've saved a lot of time. We don't have to do as many like custom analysis, and we like not a blocker anymore and say we get to work on this instead, which is a lot more fun. Well, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the marketplace, our internal marketplace, which Bob also spoke about. So as you saw, we have about 40 studios, and there's a lot of data, a lot of game and player data, and we create these products that we want to essentially share our data. It's all teams that aggregated, and they can just use it out of the box, and they can create their own reports and stuff that they want to do. So look on the catalog side, you'll see it under Horizon Catalog. There's internal marketplace. I'll just play a little video so you can just see what it looks like and how we set it up. But you basically can put all your documentation, just explain what the product is. You have your data dictionary. So these are kind of like your golden data sets that you want to share with your different studios and teams. You've got your descriptions of all your columns in there. And you can put like all your like data owners, your contact, who your support person is. And you've got a link directly going to your documentation, whether it's so Confluence, wherever it is. So this has been really cool to package your products and just say it's easy in the interface, the UI interface there for like our studios and within Snowflake to see it under the data products tab. So like while you're dealing, you have that third tab there. You can just go in there and see what type of products have been shared. And you can, the nice thing with internal marketplaces, you can, based on your roles, you can decide who can actually discover these products and then who is allowed access to it. So you don't have to show everything to them. And it's just super quick for them to then see what's available, ask for access, go straight to our service desk for access, and they can start playing with the data. So it's also removed us as a middleman, which has also been great. Well, I think that was it from my side of the analytics.
So for SI, how are you guys thinking about security? Let's say people can ask one between and tab and so on.
Yeah, I mean, so the nice thing with the governance and our role-based access control, we've got it all based on what space in it, so what data they are allowed to see. In terms of our next steps, what we're trying to, we're investigating like column level security. So for us, it's about that financial aspect versus non-financial and how we can do the instructions or maybe using custom tools via your SI agents. You can then maybe you can have a custom tool to then say for non-financial, we'll display percentages and ranks. And those financial users can see the more financial assets. But that is the, we're still playing around with that. That's why we've just sort of ring fenced it right now to like pilot audience, getting feedback more on the agent itself to see the accuracy and whether they are getting the results that they like. But yeah, it's a good question. But for now, it's based on our roles that we have to do. So.
Then you guys use some context to create the semantic model.
Yes, we use context analysis. So it's gameplay, very easy. Is there another question?
Yeah, my question about training users to use the model. Because asking a question in a specific way can give you better quality.
Yeah.
So I know you did a small group, did you do a training with them? Documentation?
Yeah, definitely. We have this awesome data scientist in our team, Kiyoshi. She actually did the video, but she put together a nice training. We have a GGU University. So we put all our training and documentation up there where it's really about the prompt engineering and how specific your questions are. So we kind of trying to instill certain acronyms that the users have to use when asking questions, and obviously the more information and context you give, the better. But yeah, it's going to be kind of like a mandatory thing that will make all our users have to do with the training. Right now, it's very, very few users. They understand agents. So yeah, good so far. Cool. I'm going to hand over to Jeff. Yeah.
Like in the first 10-15 minutes per user accessing SI, what are their key questions?
The first couple of questions is often like the data dictionary, the catalog. So understanding the underlying data that the agent has access to. And it's a lot about the top performing games. It's very like domain specific. So it's depending what team they're in. So for studios and like sales team, they are really trying to push where certain games need to be like targeted more. So it's specific to, I'd say, top performing games, the ranks, what the wagering and network looks like. Yeah. Do you guys know any other questions that they've asked recently?
So
What else?
we also have on the site there is questions that you can click and ask which help users play around with them. So that helps. And in the custom instructions, we also add at the end of every answer, we tell the agent to give next steps. That helps people to explore and play around with the agent even more.
Yeah, we have those verified queries there, and we're using them on all our questions points that will explain. But yeah.
Then you find yourself updating those questions. See if you have sort of very good understanding.
So yeah, the questions that were there kind of covered broad variety already. it's more on the user. I think they start off there, and it's kind of their beginning where they want to start with like their and then LinkedIn or wages and looking at markets and stuff like that. So we haven't gone back and dated any of those, changed the list of questions we displayed, but we have added more verified queries. So we just based on like what they've asked, we'll go and answer the queries.
Sorry if I'm jumping. But they share what do they intend to the BI tool from now? This is what do they intend to do this. What questions that ask you? Yes.
So the dashboards give you that. I mean, when you want to look at data, they often just go to our tables for like ranks, like where you have all your data stayed in one table and you have sort of your daily reports. They still look at like load times and things like that in Tableau. We have our hourly sort of real time, close to real time reports that are in Tableau. So what more users are going to put, because after SI, it's more around the next steps of where to push like underperforming games. So games that aren't getting a lot of eyes or push to like markets and operators. So they want to look at which games that have not been live for a long time and actually based on the current gameplay, they go and push to other operators based on what's been performing really well in those operators. So that you can't, it's very hard to look at a dashboard and just get that. You have to know the domain really well and especially the sales side of things. So SI has been pushed more towards that. And as well as we're trying to bring in like feature and theme data as well for our agents. So trying to look at trends and patterns of top performing games that are tied to, your buy features or your free spins, and what's the trends around there. So it's one of the patterns and insights to see the next steps of like what potentially new features can we develop in a game or what features go together. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Also another thing, some of these models that we push to Tableau and Power BI are highly aggregated. What we've also seen is with access to SI, they can now go and interrogate like the lower level of details. There's 30 billions of records. Like when they look for error codes and error descriptions, that's not something that can necessarily want to surface on a Power BI dashboard because there's a manual. With SI, you give them the capability to roll through to those details as well. And it's all in the journey. So just
And chat more about SI afterwards. So I think it's a hot topic in everyone's mind lately. So yeah, thanks.
Okay. Hi guys. I'm Desmond. And I'm one entire half of the data team on Explore. And Explore is essentially the experimentation product in-house at Games Global. And we do experiments on basically most of us. We're trying to. Why do we do this? So as Rob mentioned earlier, we're in the era of like hyper personalization, AI, and essentially our goal is to try and move away from listening to people's opinions like CEOs or other execs, and essentially letting the player behavior drive the decisions that we make inside of the business. So essentially trying to use Snowflake as a scalable platform to essentially build this. And then ultimately that's going to lead us towards like more world-class experimentation platform. Just a bit of background and history on our team. So this year we're scheduled to run approximately 100 experiments on 300 game add-ons. And then you just compare that to 2 years back in 2023 when I joined the team, we're just running over 30 experiments. So that's like a very good growth trajectory, which bodes very well for what we're trying to achieve in terms of like compound learning and potential ROI experiments. What kind of experiments do we do? So these can be broadly grouped into like 3 categories. So we do your UI experiments, which is like animations, icons, even sound. And then our cash cows are essentially the math experiments, This is where we work very closely with game mathematicians and game designers to essentially try and discern like optimal ratings and volatility and different RTP splits and so on. Those are very profitable for us. And then lastly, we do feature experiments. This is like your buy feature and bonus recharge and other features. Well, just to talk around like how we achieve this experimentation product on Snowflake. So broadly speaking, you can't see it here in the first block over here, but we run essentially two kinds of analysis. So your traditional A/B tests, and then we also divert 20% of our traffic to a multi-banded model to optimize allocation to different treatments during the experimentation period. So I did speak about the different experiment types that we do. So essentially what happens is the data gets landed to us from the game event analytics. It's landed to us in a very clean and very nice format in Snowflake. And we essentially use SQL Mesh and Airflow to transform that data and get it into an analysis ready state. And then we essentially conduct whatever analysis that we need, be it core A/B testing or like I mentioned before, multi-banded models. And then finally, the last step is to just so I did show that we are close to running 100 experiments in this financial year. So obviously for two people, it's not feasible to report on all of those results, look at all of that data. So we do use Cortex AI to essentially summarize and come up with a stakeholder recommendations and summaries. The one thing that I just want to point out in this entire flow here is everything after the data gets landed is done natively on Snowflake. So this is like a very good thing and it speaks to the extensibility and the flexibility of Snowflake. You can basically do any kind of analysis that you want. And that's very good if you data is. I mentioned multi-bandits before, and that thingy was cutting my block, so you didn't even see what was there. But what are these things? Are they essentially like criminals? What are these things? So some of the Squid Games fans are gonna know this picture. So essentially, a multi-armed bandit is just a way of like deciding in real time during the experiment period whether you want to exploit the information that you already know about your variants or you want to go on Tinder and explore your options a bit to see what's out there. So that in essence is what a multi-armed bandit is. So we divert 20% of our traffic, player traffic to the multi-armed bandit model. And during the experiment window, we're able to optimize or divert more of that 20% better performing variants throughout the experiment. So you can contrast that with like a traditional A/B test where you have sort of like a fixed allocation for the experiment duration. So you can see like it can result in like very inefficient experiments, which we've noticed in most of our experiments by now. So for the multi-armed bandit on the right, you can see it quickly identified early on what was the better performing treatment, allocated close to 60 and 70% of the players throughout the experiment to that variant. And this resulted in a revenue capture of almost 40% with only 20% traffic. So this is a very good sort of way of efficient experiments, which is what we found. Okay, well, I think that's my story, quick and dirty. I'll now hand over to you. Not to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Yusuf. As you can see in the screen, but you can call me you. I stand here for you and me. So I am part of the Games Global AI Center of Excellence, so COE, very fancy, I know. Very, yeah. But we do a lot of AI and ML driven projects. So one of the things that we do is things like looking at the game simulation. For example, can we use AI to explore the game and to ensure the game's plays? We also do things like math model detection. What's the the design each slot games, for example. But today, what we're talking about is the chatbot we moved over that we both for compliance teams, which deals a lot of with the regulations, laws for to make the different games become reality, right? And our team also does a lot of recent developments, like there are actually new AI products or LLM model comes out, and we have wants to try out to ensure that it's part for the business to use as well. And we also do a lot of collaboration with our team here as well as science and different business sectors such as business analysts, compliance team, etc. So, like I mentioned, that today I'm going to speak to you about the chatbot that we built for compliance team, and the reason is because they came to us because a lot of times these compliance officers they have to translate these regulations and rules that changes every single time. And you can imagine that the amount of the volume of the data they have to process. And each individual will have to process those data, which will mean that they will take time. Which means that every query that every other games developer employees ask about the games will be delayed. So as our team, how can we make sure that this is negated, right? And this is where Snowflake comes into play. We decided to go ahead with the Snowflake AI, Cortex AI, and we basically build Cortex, an AI on top of our unstructured data. Right. So these data come in different forms, right? So we have PDF documents. So these are like proper law regulation or PDF, like you see different pages of numbers and tabular data and structure and yeah, anything you can imagine. We also have some documentation, some confluence that the compliance team also uses to summarize their stuff, and the glossary. The reason that we use glossary is because the model doesn't really understand identity. So by including the glossary and the definition, we provide those contexts so the model knows. Really, okay, I know I'm talking about this to a specific domain, which is our compliance team, right? So to make sure that the data is also updated regularly, we make sure that these are on schedule on the data stream. So every day, the new data will be, if a new data resurfaces in those documents, for example, the things that they actually are updated, meaning the users can now have a conversation with them every day, the new first sort of things. So once that data has been ingested, we also do a very simple preparation, meaning that we push that into Snowflake, we parse that, and we build the complex service onto the event. So the users now can have a conversation with them after we put this onto a front end UI. So just to go through what the documentation looks like, and this is what it looks like, right? Like it's very rich and text heavy. Some of these data have like numbers and file format example. So we put this into a structured format like this one. As you can see, it's very it's nicely structured. Now how we do this is Snowflake has been very nice to offer and give us a simple function you can run, an AI function. You can literally just run it and it will pass these data into different chunks, right? And you can see the multi-chunk here. And to also make sure that these informations are tagged nicely, we also tag it based on the location and the parent market. So as market is in different countries, that this information belongs to. So if the user asks questions about, hey, what's my going to player percentage in Aldini, then it will know, okay, hey, I know my Aldini is somewhere here. I'm going to refer to those documents as Aldini. It's based on the tag of the countries. And yeah, so what's also nice about Snowflake Cortex AI is if you want to have a conversation with your unstructured data, you can literally just run very simple Snowflake AI scripting on top of your structured data, and that's pretty much it. You can literally also customize your own custom embedding model if you want to, but we use our Snowflake provided one, the Snowflake Alting Embed, which is also proven to be very nicely performative as well, and embedding those chunks. So once I've developed that, then we built the front end UI using Streamlit. And at the back end, we have Cortex service that provides the user with the chunks when the user asks the questions, any on different compliance periods, for example. The question also is that how do we make sure that the security is in place? So here this is the role. I didn't see, but it says chief developer. I'm the chief developer because chief is fancier. But bring that aside. So as myself, who is has the highest authority, I have all the features. For example, I can see which chunks are being retrieved for certain query. Are there any errors? Down the line, we have made this go live to different users, but we're not giving them this role. We're gonna make sure that they use the whole standard. So there's another role that we developed for them, and that role will have a restricted amount of features. They're only able to see features like um, they can only upload documents. They can refresh the data, for example. So it's very restricted. So, from the security point of view, um, it's pretty much safe, and governance is set in place as well. Um, what's also nice about Snowflake in terms of the AI is that they provide you with the metrics, right? We also make sure that is my bot, my chatbot, or the model performing nicely. And this is where the AI observability comes in. Basically, what this is basically for you to measure your performance. So answer relevance, context relevance, and relevance. Is my model performing great according to the query that the user asked? Right. So you provide these things like ground truth answers and questions, and automatically Snowflake at the back end gives you these false as well. So it's a nice way for you to monitor your performance of your chatbot. And the notable results and achievements of this app and the chatbot is officially live with our company. So currently there are about 126 users, and overall comment was that the compliance users don't have to rely on themselves to answer questions, like mundane questions. They can, employees can literally ask the chatbot all these questions, and they can focus on more formative and high priority work. Right. They don't also, the compliance officers don't also have to simply answer documents. They can just answer the question, hey, what updated on this day or this time, and then it'll give you the comparison once they update this being done. But what I also want to highlight is this time on the cost that's saved. They also highlighted that they saved about 8 to 10 hours per individual per week, which I think is quite significant. And in terms of the cost, they also mentioned that because of this, they saved a 25% productivity gain, so they can focus more on their high prioritized work. So what's next for us? So with this app, we're developing a method to fire an alert. What is alert? Meaning that we fetch a confidence score for every single question that user gets. For example, if the confidence is below a certain threshold, low confident answer, and with the question will be sent to a Teams channel for compliance officers, so they can evaluate why maybe for that data, maybe for that query, the data wasn't available. So that means that the compliance officers can now go and calculate those data for them. No. And with that, also, we want to also introduce a Cortex agent. Basically, what's different from what they've done previously for me is I'm doing with unstructured data and they're doing structured data. A lot of the teams also reach out to me about maybe combining the data analysis complements the translate. So your future roadmap, you have a way to maybe implement this into a Cortex agent and bring this into Microsoft Teams properly. So instead of users having to log into Snowflake, getting authenticated, they can just go into Teams, click on this little icon, and then they can check their automatic. So it's nice way done. Yeah, so that's basically it. Overall, the journey Snowflake is very simplistic. The support is great. What I will highlight is in terms of the data governance and your data sets, everything is done natively in Snowflake. Also here I also mentioned the scaling to team is simple because as long as you give them access to Snowflake and give them various roles, they can just sell out to anyone in your company and teams as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much in what I want to talk to you guys about. Yeah, thank you very much. I was trying to digital for you. Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah. So when you're dealing with tables and numbers, you can tell if an answer is correct or not on a larger scale, maybe. But in terms of text, how you can tell if something is the correct answer.
Are you asking?
Um,
Are you asking in terms of comparison between the what's right and what's wrong?
what's right and what's wrong?
Yeah,
How
so
are you able to do that other than actually going to look at the question and
so okay, so it's a question. So let's just a demo. But when a user asks a question, obviously the model will think a different chance that's provided from the Cortex service, and it will provide provide the user with the link where the data was sourced from. So they can literally click that link, and then it will redirect the user to that sheet where the data source is from. So that was also making sure that the data is real and is trustworthy. And to also make sure that the data is up to date, I also made a method where every confluence document has a way to give you which at what time was the subject. So updated time will also be given in the reference, so they know, okay, I know this information is most recent, so therefore they trust the data. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
yeah, it does. It's difficult to actually assess on a large scale what is the correct answer. And for example, if you have two policy documents, maybe a new version came out, are you able to say, okay, what has changed from this version?
Yeah, so that's been the most difficult part, right? So that's why we introduced this for different conference documents. And we also log a document of, let's say a new document came in today, but then the same document, but the previous version came yesterday. We track the time when that was uploaded, and it will make a comparison. This for this document at this time, this time day said this, but now today the updated version says this. So it's able to keep pretty much the large language model is actually pretty nice enough to make a decent comparison and provide the users with the right information at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw the bunch of data sources that you interesting, the PDF formats and everything.
Yeah.
Like that. Was there some data sources you wish you could ingest that's just not in a format that you could
Yes. So currently the only data points and the stuff that we try to ingest was obviously PDF Word documents. They also want the compliance team wants to also upload pictures. Because they apparently have a lot of diagrams, visualization that wants to upload and ask the model about. Luckily, when we had that issue, Snowflake reached out to us and said, "Hey, our model now actually supports multi-model function." So that was a blessing to us. So pretty much that was the only hard part. In terms of the other data types, we didn't have any hurdles.
And I just want to know, you mentioned that you would like to serve a sort of like challenge that looks like this in teams.
Yeah.
Was there a point when you were considering something like a Copilot?
Yes, exactly. So
Were there some reasons why you think of Snowflake instead of Copilot?
So we tried the Copilot, first of all, before we reached out to, before we used Snowflake. But we realized that Copilot was more for productivity tools. It's not really customizable as much as Snowflake. Right? But what we also realized is that we can plug that Cortex agent API into Copilot and bring the Copilot into Microsoft Teams in that way. Which I think is much more streamworthy and it's much more streamlined as well. But apparently Snowflake is also considering direct integration from Snowflake into Teams. So maybe you can have it featuring. Yeah. Any question? Oh, yes.
Just another thing. So this bot was basically just created for clients to link and asking.
Yes, so at the moment it's compliance, market operations, and regulatory compliance. Those three teams. So as the user base is growing, we are getting a lot of requests. Can we add our data to this one? But we rather want to make a chatbot that's specified to specific domain in our business. So market operation, regulation, and compliance, technical compliance, they relate to each other, right? So that's why we want to combine them into this one. For example, if they want to make one for some different business sectors like business analysts, for example, just for example sake, then I think it's wiser to make a separate one for them as well. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, example, if a team takes the initiative to want to be compliant from a business perspective,
Yeah.
And they want to kind of like push out this and this is what we're doing, this is how it's doing. But in order to do it daily, let's say, it's kind of like the role being taken.
Yeah.
This role being just
Yeah, so that's I think what's the beauty of Snowflake and also with the Snowflake AI is the scaling is pretty nuts. Like I said, mentioned to you about the role-based access.
Yeah.
I think Rob and Kevin mentioned about the columnar security, right? So we can from the structured data that I mentioned, we can apply that security and maybe lock some of the access to some business sectors maybe going forward. That's also being the thought as well. But we just went live, so we're still waiting for a lot of the feedbacks. The feedback has been great. Just the minor tweaks in terms of like prompting, for example, but that we are working on to educate them as well. So yeah. We should now hand over to the book. Thank you very much.
Okay, up to so far, we've basically seen that we cannot do anything without Rob. So he's the MVP, everything is built and sits on what he basically enables us to do the data engineering. And then we've also seen how the insights come in, and we've seen the fun stuff that relates to generative AI. And then we're going to take it a step back and look at what happens to our traditional machine learning models because we're still using them. How is this doing work with Snowflake? We're still being, fortunately, I won't be taking you through them, but I'll take you through the monitoring aspects of it. We all know they work, we trust them, we love them. That's what I will be showing you. I'm going to take a demo of the platform that we developed to monitor it's advanced monitoring. First, I want to speak about what you mentioned with for observing AI observability on Snowflake. The key thing that he mentioned there was ground truth. You need the ground truth. So what happens when you don't have that ground truth? How do we do monitoring on data sets? Now it works. I was going to say it's like it's Okay, let me just play the video, and as it plays, I will be basically talking us through this advanced monitoring. Can I just basically sing the unsung hero, which is Streamlit on Snowflake? It's very easy to use, let me pause because we've basically even he showed Streamlit and the integration of the chatbot was clear in Streamlit. This is built on Streamlit. When I first thought about building this, I played around with Streamlit elsewhere first. It was a pain to get that project to come back. Like with Snowflakes, it was easy as the code you run. So yeah. Now the problem is we discovered. So this is the monitoring model, or the model monitoring dashboard. And what we've built basically is a catalog and in a way to observe the performance of our monitoring models. On the left side, this is the dashboard controls where we basically select the range of your monitoring for the data. You can select the records that you want or the data. You can basically select the range that you want to monitor. Thus, we have the training and then we have the inference, prediction, or forecasting, whatever word you use, we monitor both. In our monitoring dashboard, we are not we are using Snowflake registry. This is just storing the artifacts, the snapshots. When we train, we do a snapshot of what the performance is, and then we store it. When we do inference, we take a snapshot, we compare to see how is it performing. The first layer of it is the model catalog, all the models that we have in production or what we want to monitor. We're not monitoring the model registry. It has a lot of models. And then on the model catalog, you can see there are a number of models that we basically monitoring the different versions in the model. I know you're wondering how come we have 554 models. We'll about that later on and explain why monitoring this separately from a out of the box from Snowflake is enabling us. And then you can see with the links, as you click on them, you have different versions. You have documentation links where you can go and look at any information that you have about the models on Confluence. We use Confluence a lot for our documentation. So it basically integrates back, right? Now, say we want to see the performance of PSEC, you're going to go to the dashboard controls and then search for PSEC, and then you will have all the overview of how it's currently performing. And you basically have the executive overview where you have 12 indicators of the model performance. We have our data drift, our R2 scores, and this is the clustering model. It doesn't have ground truth. So in the observability from the out of the box Snowflake one, you wouldn't be able to monitor the performance. So this was the birth of the need for this, and then we expanded it. And then you have a more detailed overview of performance against the dates that you selected, where it tells you the MAE score, MSE score, R2 score over the days, and you can basically tell from there if there are issues and then you need retraining or not. We have the data drift analysis. This is separate from the data training data. It's basically drift analysis in terms of your performance. You have your training model when you have your training code, and then it does the same thing. It just refreshes the data when it retrains. But you want to also see if the code and the parameters you've set in the code still are applicable on the data that you have in your code. Having data drift like that, it monitors that. So you're also monitoring your code indirectly to say parameters and how I set it up is it still relevant to the data that I keep refreshing and bringing it in. And then we also have the sharp analysis, which basically it tells you the features that you're bringing in if they're still as you would expect. And then we have the business KPIs. This is based on the data scientist's knowledge if they want to bring in other metrics that they want to monitor. For instance, if the business have in their clustering, they have the different classes, they want to monitor other aspects other than what you already know or can predict, they will calculate those matrices and bring them in. And when we set up the monitoring, and that's how you would monitor them. And then the third aspect of it is the model comparison. You have version 1 and version 2. Now you have testing, A/B testing, where you have the two models and you want to see which one is basically performing better. This is where you would bring it in. At this moment, it's just doing comparison based on our sum of squares errors, but you can basically see which model is performing best and choose which one to push or to production or choose which one to depreciate or to retrain. Even if you see that there is a drift, you can select the range date of the comparison. It basically gives you the health score, drift, and then there's some error, and then it tells you at the end which one is performing better in terms of those calculations. So it's easy for you to just go in and look at the performance and understand what's going on better. And this is just me showing the other methods. You can compare different models as well. It doesn't have to be models of the same. It just doesn't have to be models from the same training or objectives. This is when it tells us it's the PSEC one that is behaving better. This one is basically explaining the alerts, what the alerts are telling us, but in future it will add where data scientist or anyone interested in monitoring how the model is performing can subscribe and get notification when either drift is more than 30% or the accuracy drops below what it was at training, for instance. And then you can also export the model health or the model performance sheet. So you can go in and update your Confluence documents after this one by doing the exports. This is just basically going back to the forecasting one. And I did say I will explain why we have so many models with this one. So with this one, we have operator, market, and another aspect combination. So we train to predict the capacity for different combinations of our technology, basically. So with that, we have many models that we train daily. But we don't store the models. We want to monitor the performance over time. We want to see the data. And let's say that the code, because training is just refreshing the data. We want to see the parameters, your settings, if the code still works for the data that comes in. This is why we are monitoring them here. And if you were to use AI observability, you would have needed to register them on model registry. That is a whole lot of models to register every day. So that's why we also have it to do it this way. And yeah, I think this is it with the model monitoring. And just to speak about what basically powers it. At the background, it's 3 pillars. We have the data, basically we have raw. we have compute and analysis. This is Snowflake. I specifically chose to build a custom Python library that runs the metrics that we are monitoring there, mainly because I find that with the nice, fancy, ready-to-use libraries, they have many failures. Sometimes it's mismatch on packages and they will fail in production. So I just kept it simple. I used our tried and trusted sci-fi, sklearn, NumPy, our used trusted libraries for this. So that's where I used the custom libraries. So everything sits within Snowflake, so that enables us to bring in the governance, the data governance that lies within the data. I don't have to worry about that aspect. That's the nice thing about deploying everything and Snowflake. And then, like I said, Streamlit enabled this one, which enables us to have a user-friendly interface. Not going to speak over the last slide, but this is just driving back the performance or the monitoring aspects where we are doing, which is the drift, model performance, feature explainability, and the business impact or KPIs that we want to bring in. And that's it. The key benefits that we get out of there is increased trust. Like I said, it basically lies within the governance that comes with Snowflake. We have a proactive management that we are able to monitor our models with. And then we have a unified and scalable platform that regardless of whether we have 500 models or 1,000, it will basically scale up because it's based on Snowflake compute, which is easily scaling up. And what is our success story?
You go back to your dashboard. That's
Thank you.
It's more something I saw about the tabs across. Yeah.
Well, just trying to find where we have the trend. I know them.
So it's actually what anything they are. What did you use for that? What action? What?
Yes. Joking aside. It's the types in the pyramid that you basically have just call STs, the library STs, use it. It's very easy. We live in a world where technology allows us. So if you go to those other agents and then ask them, they will show you how.
The types.
Yeah. No, it was easy to implement. Once I got my hardest hurdle was the custom library that was calculating the metrics. In terms of the doing the dashboard, it was easy to do it and love it. Any other questions in general? I know everything that they did, so I will answer for them.
So to see these versions of the database.
No, they do sit in our database or our table. Our tables there, we have two tables that we set up. The one is for doing the snapshot for the training and only updates when we retrain. And then the other aspect is when every time we score, when we do inference, they will update the snapshot for the inference. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. That was really awesome. I think another round of applause too. Conscious that we started late for technical issues and we just received an education. So I am going to do a couple of slides, otherwise I have got questions you won't know the answers. So I'm going to give everyone a fair chance. So I put a bow on everything that these guys have just shown you today. Just got a couple of slides, answers to the questions in the next 30 seconds. So Snowflake have got this slogan, there's no AI strategy without a data strategy. And I think what these guys demonstrated today is that they've got this foundation of like great data that they then build all of these capabilities on top of. I mean, the fact that they're handling 15 million rows of data every month goes to show like this is the foundation of their strategy. And I'm not going to go through all these slides, but what we've really talked about today in terms of all the different workloads that Snowflake can support is we're really focused in on AI and ML workloads. And so I just wanted to kind of tie it all together and give you kind of a diagram as to how all of these things plug together. Hopefully there's a nice takeaway in the day. So for some of you, I'm going to see this at the back, but essentially we've got all these different data types and people have mentioned them during the course of this afternoon, this evening. We've got the PDF documents. We've got images, somebody mentioned images. So we've got audio files, somebody didn't talk about that, but we've got all of these unstructured data sources. And if you've ever read any kind of Gartner report, they'll tell you something like 80% of all the world's data sits in kind of unstructured data sources. So we're all very comfortable working with SQL databases or similar. How do we get some value out of this? And this is what we've kind of touched on a little bit in with Dave's global kind of presentation is you need to do some level of processing. You need to take that content and that unstructured data and turn it into structured data. So we've heard some of the terms, but I just want to put them all into context. So we've got documents, images, audio files, giving you some clues here as to what the questions might be. And then how do we get some value out of that? So one of the tools that you have available in Snowflake is something called Document AI. This is the ability for you to take a PDF document. It doesn't have to be the same document, but it has to be like a class of documents. So let's say, for example, in your instance, it was all of your legal documents. So you could take a whole load of legal documents and you could ask some questions of those legal documents. And the objective of using something like Document AI, take those documents and turn it into a structured data set. Okay, so we're taking PDF style documents and we're turning them into a structured data set. So everything on the left-hand side of this kind of diagram is going to be, the result's going to be a structured table of data. On the right-hand side of this, we might have some images or some audio files or some documents. We want to extract some values from that. So we've got this function inside of SQL, Snowflake called AI Complete. So with AI Complete, I can pass it an image and a prompt. Ask it to extract some data from me. I can say what brands are in this image, how many people are in there. And I've got an example here of how a car accident and actually assessing what the damage is to a vehicle. So we can extract some structured data from an image. We can do the same thing with audio files and documents. I think one of the guys mentioned we've got these functions available inside of Snowflake to do that as well. So we don't have to go somewhere else. we have AI transcribe, which means I take an audio file, pass it to this AI transcribe function, and it will give me back a transcript. It will even try and identify who's talking and give you a conversational transcript. So call it A, agent, voice number 3, whatever. So you can actually like see the conversation that took place. If I want to do something similar with a document, I can use the pass document function as well. So I can take a PDF and I can pass that as well. I can chunk that document up. So again, these are the functions that are available for us to take these large pieces of text, turn them into chunks, where we put these Cortex search services that we can have these conversations with. So on the left-hand side, I've got structured data. On the right-hand side, I've got unstructured data. And then we've got these different tools that we can use. So we've mentioned things like Cortex Analyst. So the function of Cortex Analyst is give me a table of data. And what I will do is when you ask me a question, we'll turn that into a SQL statement and I'll pass it down and I'll run that SQL statement against a table of data and return some results. Cortex Search says, give me a question and I'll find chunks of data that have a similar context to your question. I'll retrieve those data. I'll synthesize all those responses and give you an answer. So we've seen both of these in action in the Games Global scenarios. And then if you want to, you can create your own custom tools. So inside of Snowflake, you can use SQL, Python, Java as a coding language to wrap that up in a stored procedure and a function with some inputs. And you can expose that to the next layer, which is the agents. So here I can configure an agent. I can say for this agent, I want to use Cortex Analyst Service or Cortex Search or a combination of these to create my agentic experience. So in some of the examples and demos I've seen, have created custom tools that send emails. So say, cool, I've done some analysis, now send this analysis off to somebody else. You can configure the agent with a persona. You give it a set of like a mandate, like when people talk to you in these kind of things. When someone asks a question around a particular subject, use Cortex Analyst. Let's get around another subject, use the Cortex Search Service. So you can give it a whole load of instructions as to what it should do. And then on top of that, then you plug Snowflake Intelligence. And some of the demos that the guys from Games Global have demonstrated to you, they've been a bit fancy, and they've gone away, and they've actually used APIs that exist over each of these services as well. So Cortex Analyst, Cortex Search, Cortex Agent, each of them has their own API that you can interact with for your own custom experiences as well. So you don't have to use Snowflake Intelligence. So essentially what Snowflake Intelligence is in this scenario is you're putting the ChatGPT, it's your front-end user interface to ask questions. The real power of it is in like building all of these like capabilities, taking all your unstructured data, using functions like AI Complete, using things like Document AI, using services like Cortex Analyst and Cortex Search to create these agentic experiences. I'll quickly scan through some of these other examples, just so you can see. This is what Document AI looks like. You ask questions in natural language. It will actually retrieve the answer from this document. It will give you a confidence score. And you can basically train your own large language model on a set of documents. Then you can run this and extract. These essentially are column headings, machine, serial number, inspection grade. You get a nice table of data that you can then go Cortex Analyst and top up. These are all the kind of AI functions. So these are basically our wrappers over a large language model. So you can write SQL in Snowflake, and you can just use these functions directly in your SQL statements and actually interact with a large language model without actually having to put any plumbing in place. So here's an example where we've got Claude that we're using. Here's my prompt. I'm actually passing in a file here. So this is the accident image. So I can use any one of these models that I want to, add my prompt, add my table or my image. Essentially, in this scenario, let's analyze this image and it's come back with this response. So now I can use that against, for example, we're doing similar things with supermarket shelves. We can take a picture of a shelf and see how many facings there are, how many, what the pricing is something on special or not. Pick that up in aggregate and you've got some interesting data that you can do stuff with. Another example here is just the transcription example. So here we've got some audio files. So we're using this AI transcribe function with an audio file, which has actually been imported into a table. This function retrieves some JSON. So we actually have to pass that JSON. And the cool thing around Snowflake, if you're not a Snowflake user, is actually reference this column. Once it's been declared, you can reference it immediately in a SQL query. So no more tables, CTEs. I can literally just reference it. It's godsend. So there's my audio file. I'm transcribing the JSON directly within the same SQL statement. And basically, I've now got some JSON that I can work with, and I can put that into one of these search services. I'm going to skip past some of these. This is Cortex Analyst. So this is basically where you create like a semantic model. So if any of you have used Power BI, you're creating a semantic model. This is equivalent to creating a semantic model in Snowflake. These guys have demoed loads of stuff. I'm just trying to give you some content for the answers. This is your Cortex search service. Really cool, very easy to create this. This is going to go and create you your kind of vector database. So there's the column that I want to index, the transcript. These are other columns that I can add, I can use as filters. This is going to automatically refresh every day. And then there's your select statement against your actual table. So this will maintain those vector databases for you. And the cool thing is you can ask questions again directly in SQL. So here's my question. These are the columns I want it to return. I want to return the top 5 results. You can actually use this in a select statement to actually query unstructured data. And again, I can pass this out and actually start like using the results. So there's the search service, there's my request, and I can get some answers. There's the stuff about tools. I'm not going to go through all this, but it's really easy. And then Snowflake Intelligence, this is the user interface for creating your own chatbots. So with no further ado, we're going to get into the quiz time. There's 5 questions. It's very exciting. We've got some great Snowflake merch. So if you want to be seen on the beach in a big Snowflake hat, this is the time to join the quiz. You scan it with your phone, you can join the quiz. I think we should have enough for 100 users. 5 questions. You are rewarded for correctness and speed. Okay? I hope I gave you all the answers.
Yeah.
I know fever pitch, so that's getting very exciting. Maybe while we're getting people, I'm just going to show you some of the merch. Okay, so we've got a hat, teddy bears. These are limited edition. You won't find these on any supermarket shelf. Okay, there's a fantastic book here. And for those of you that are keen campers or have a long drive to work, we've got the ultimate Snowflake camping mug. Okay. All right. I'm going to give people about 30 seconds to join, and then we're going to start the pitch. Yeah, so then there's 15 seconds to answer the question. There's only one answer, one right answer for each of these 5 questions, and you'll be rewarded for getting the correct answer in the fastest time. I will show the leaderboard halfway through so you can get really excited. Okay, are we ready? The first question. Which data source can Snowflake consume? The answer is all of the above. Well done. 95% of you. The other 2%, bad. Well done. Oh, I didn't mention this, so you'll have to guess. What is Snowflake's ELT tool called? It's only been released recently. If you're a big Snowflake fan, you will know the answer. It begins with open. And it's not open source. Well done, 93% of you. It is indeed open for that. Go to vet. Where's the vet? Excellent. Okay, cool. Starting up. Yeah, which service would you use to convert a PDF document into a table of data? Very specific, PDF document into a table of data. The answer is, well done, Document AI. You can do it with some of the other ones, but that's a very specific use case. Which function would you use to extract data from an image? Oh, this has separated everybody out. It was indeed AI complete. That is the one. And you've got a limited number of models you can use. So I think it's Claude and a couple of others that you can use to do multimodal. Okay. Well done. Okay, the leaderboard. This is the final question. So it's to play for here that it's very tight at time. Are we ready? Okay, so the final question. We have only got 5 questions. We're not going to 8. Final question. Which service would you use to query a structured table of data? Cortex Analyst, custom tool, Cortex Search, or MCP Server? This is too easy. Well done. Okay, so before I reveal the winners, the top 3 will receive merch packs. I just want to say thank you very much for coming to our Snowflake Hackathon. Next one is on the 12th of November. Please sign up, join the user group, join the LinkedIn user group. And I think there's a little bit of food and some drinks left. If there is, you're welcome to it. If not, try amongst yourselves. So the winners for this evening are.
Oh, yay.
Okay. Number 2, number 3, and number 4. You want to come up and catch your patch, you're all welcome.
Yes. So no one ever completes the rating form. So in this session, I ask people to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then I will contact you if you had a thumbs down. So 1, 2, 3, smile. Not you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sure they must give you guys like 3 credits. Oh, but you would
They give us free trips to San Francisco.
It's really well this. Continue me. I'm very good. Oh,